Hello, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. I'll give us a couple of minutes to find more attendees. Thanks for joining. This is going to be rather a unique presentation today, as I'm the only one interacting with you. The idea is to welcome discussion, further analysis around the conversation of that's already out there about lab-grown diamonds and how they fit, and if they do fit into the space of responsible sourcing. So welcome everybody. Thanks again. This is Jay Moncada, founder of Perpetuum Jewels. Let's just give a minute or two for people to continue to tune in. All right. Please, if you do see and hear me well, type in on the chat window that you do. Just want to make sure everything's well driven from our end. Excellent. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for putting in on the chat. Beautiful. Very well. Quick intro about myself. I'm Jay Moncada, owner of Perpetuum Jewels. I'm a third generation in the wholesaling of gems by means of my original country, Colombia. My family has dealt in Colombian emeralds for over 50 years. I landed in the space out of intrigue and interest about responsible options for the market. The conversation that I bring to you today has nothing to do with what I do for my business. However, I encounter this conversation nearly on a daily basis, and I am sure, as I am a wholesaler of post-consumer recycled diamonds, I find my clients having the same conversations across the table and currently online about environmentally responsible options, more statistically more on the side of purchases towards their engagement ring, right? So as you've seen, the growth and popularity of lab-grown diamonds or above-ground diamonds, as they're being touted as, beyond the interest, we started hearing concerns about the viability of these diamonds, of these products, this new material that's brought to market. About 8 years ago, we had started seeing the larger players, like in here in the US, we have had capital-backed diamond foundry by people that have made it part of their imaging, like Leonardo DiCaprio after his movie Blood Diamonds. He made it part of his imaging, the association of diamond and the diamond trade and diamond mining and so on and so forth. And Diamond Foundry became really prominent, very important, partnering with artists and designers across the globe to bring the product of lab-grown diamonds to market. So fast forward to now, 8 years later, there isn't just 1, 2, or 3 growers of diamonds currently. It's, I believe, currently about 50 to 60 growers, and it doesn't seem to end. It seems like exponentially year by year. 4 years ago, 5 years ago perhaps, on a visit to one of the JCK Las Vegas gem shows, I encountered perhaps 20 exhibitors, and then the year after, it became triple, 3 times the exhibitors, so on and so forth. So their growth is evident, the presence is evident, and now it's an established segment of the business. So much so that I've seen actors that have been traditionally, even by family, like myself, third generation, fourth generation in the wholesale trading, completely turning around and creating their business solely on lab-grown diamonds. I wanted to share with you today something that landed in my inbox this morning and really explains about where the desire for lab-grown diamonds is and what the marketing of that is currently. This is full disclosure. I am not affiliated with the company that it's in the video. It's a promotional video for the sale of lab-grown diamonds for this company. And please, by no means, I do not validate their claims, or I don't speak on behalf of their interests or their products. This is something for us to spur a conversation. So bear with me. I'm going to share my screen, mute myself, and I'll come back to this so that you can, and then we'll have a conversation about our.
There's a good reason to smile when you're part of the Smiling Rocks community. And that's exactly it. We are a community. We make and sell diamonds, but these are not ordinary diamonds excavated from our precious earth through mining. No, ours are lab-grown diamonds, but that doesn't make them any less valuable as a precious stone. Far from it. With the advancement in technology, our lab-grown diamonds have the same crystal structure, chemical composition, and physical properties as natural mined diamonds. It just means that they're kinder to the earth, and we don't have to cause such a harmful environmental impact to get our hands on them. Now, that's one good reason to smile right there. And to make it easier, we only have two ways of growing our own diamonds. HPHT, which stands for high pressure, high temperature. CVD, chemical vapor deposition. By using these technologies, we aim to minimize the environmental and social impact. We see it as a reason for smiles, which complements our beautiful products. Another reason to smile lies in our brand, Smiling Rocks, itself. Each of our lab-grown diamonds are inscribed with our brand logo as an identity of our confidence for customers' assurance and transparency of its origin. We offer loose lab-grown diamonds in both round and fancy shape. Our jewelry collections are lined from basic essentials to fashion-forward and trendy styles, each thoughtfully crafted with its own inspiration and story. Each of our products are handcrafted and designed with highest quality care and craftsmanship. Smiling Rocks is for conscious consumers who are looking forward to trendy and sustainable jewelry. We're aiming to build a chain of smiles by connecting beautiful, timeless jewelry with a philanthropic approach. And we do that by factoring in a charitable arm to our ethos. We want our consumers to feel the power of contribution, the power of the change, and the positive impact that they can make and we can achieve together. As the diamond travels from different areas of our business, from manufacturing house to our customers and community, they're all involved in a powerful cause of change in this world and become a beacon of hope for supporting our charity partners in the end. The smile on everyone is very important to the brand. Everyone here is a crucial part of the chain. You are the key player in spreading and extending this chain to as many people as possible. Now, that made you smile, didn't it? There's a reason to smile when you're part of our Smiling Rocks community and a collector of sustainable luxury, benefiting not only you, but the world. We believe together we can make an impact, and together we can extend the chain of smile.
All right, here we go. I'm glad we got that worked out. Okay, so it was just great timing for this video to land in my inbox this morning. As you can see, this is a company who have successfully vertically incorporated lab-grown diamonds in their operations. So they are able to source. It isn't clear if they're growing themselves the diamonds, but they are able to also produce them in jewelry. And the heft of the messaging here is what they say they are able to do with their product. When I saw this video, it almost immediately connects you with this notion that I've had, around conversations with newly mined diamonds, is that we have to perhaps improve on what's established and to make it better, and by analyzing what is it that new mining of diamonds is not doing for the environment, for local community, for labor markets across the world. Diamond has a very unique uh, um, influence on labor markets beyond, it's beyond the place where it's sourced. It involves basically all the continents up until the place of consumption. The US being one of the largest jewelry consumers, one of the largest diamond consumers in the world. China's getting there too as well. Now, I thought it was a great video to share with you guys because it makes emphasis on everything that lab-grown diamonds can do, right? It tells you that they have a philanthropic approach, that in terms of giving back to some form, some sector of society, whether it's environment, whether it's human causes and things like of that nature. This is a company that's established outside of the US, I believe, but they have, selling offices in the US, and they have also a 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization in the US that they use with a purpose. And again, these are claims on their website. I'm just sort of communicating with you guys the idea of this company. This is how they do their philanthropic work. So with that in mind, I wanted us to spur the conversation, and I would love if you use your Q&A or the chat box to throw questions at me as I explain some of these things. The reason behind this conversation is, what can lab-grown diamonds and their fad, right, their hype currently do now, and can they continue to sustain business moving forward? What is it in their current structure that can stay within the market and within the consciousness of consumers to adopt them over natural diamonds? So let's talk about the environment. Currently, it's already widely spread that the making of diamonds, specifically the HPHD, that stands for high pressure, high temperature diamonds, it uses a lot of energy. And under current setups of the growers right now, everywhere in the world, that energy is coming from the electrical grid. And 8 or 9 out of the 10 grids that it's connected to, it's using coal to fuel those grids. So the idea that currently diamonds are doing, they're carbon neutral or carbon negative, it's yet to be tested and put to the test and to be, checked on their claims, because carbon emissions are used. Basically, it's a result of using the electric grid. We know that diamonds need to be produced, and they need to be, put to function via labor markets. So, which are the labor markets that are benefiting the most from lab diamond production? Right. This is something that we have to find out. Is it a funnel structure in which only those with larger access can do that, or is it a fair balance structure where even a small player can set up a shop of 5 cutters somewhere and be benefited from this? In the US, for the last 20 years or 30 years, close to, I've been more or less in New York for close to 30 years working. We have seen the shift of the US being a powerhouse for jewelry making and including manufacturing of jewelry. We have since shifted to the Far East, India, where the labor markets are cheaper, to a point where it's there. What you had seen, probably saw in the 1980s, being 500, 600 companies dedicated only for cutting of diamonds at every stage, preforming, blocking, and cutting and polishing. Moved completely overseas. So we lost a little bit of the labor market. This is not only characteristic of our industry. This has been seen in many other industries, how we lost some of that labor to a cheaper labor overseas. So again, in terms of how that environment can funnel labor markets into just a few players around the world. So all of these advices to understand where that market stands. I had a discussion, very interesting discussion with that Susan Wheeler invited me on, in which I proposed the idea that, and then parentheses, a lot of my clients say, well, Jay, what's your position on lab grown diamonds? And normally people just leave the note with a little bit of like a, let's see what he says, and maybe it's too abrupt of a question for someone who depends on natural diamonds. And I welcome the idea of the talk. I strongly believe that that lab grown diamonds are here to stay. It's something that, the force of adoption, it's something like I've never seen in my 30 years of experience in the market. However, where is it that they make a difference? If you look at industrial mining and their impact on the environment, I'm talking about large scale mining, is where the majority of the talk about environmental issues arise. Because if you see the ginormous visible scars on the face of the land that it's required to bring these diamonds to market, it's just mind-boggling, right? Do we need industrial mining for the smaller of the diamonds that are used in our jewelry? The trade calls them melee, which is generally speaking 0.40 carats or smaller, and which is category of goods. Currently, the largest the cutting centers for that is India and China. Do we need large manufacturing, large mining, just for the little diamonds, right? Can we depend on that only? Can we use artisanal diamond mining just for the larger diamonds, so that larger margin profit could stay in the communities, via some of the projects that are out there? I'm not going to get into that. What is possible with lab-grown diamonds is what I try to understand. That what is it that we can visualize to be as the benefit. Circling back to the melees are the smallest sizes, and it's a little known fact, or it doesn't really become part of the conversation, but what manufacturers pay across sectors for the melee, it's all mostly it's about 80% labor and the logistics to bring that diamond to market. So an example, a 20 pointer diamond, it's sold at $1,000 a carat. So $800 per carat for that diamond was the cost of bringing that diamond up to the point of sale, right? And 20% is actual material. So the conversation that Susan, that spiked the conversation with Susan, is like, can we perhaps at some point, with the use of lab-grown diamonds, keep a sustainable platform for the smaller labor of the smaller cutters for these diamonds, right? Especially now in view of everything that COVID has brought to India, and how everything it's come to a halt almost. And how can you keep them at work? Is this a possibility? So the answer is yes. So far, short term. I know for a fact that diamond manufacturers that specialize in melee sometimes need to negotiate with the labor levels, and almost sort of they have to do with a seasonality of keeping labor force hired or not hired because of certain issues with diamond sourcing, right? So if the supply is there, they can keep the factory workers working all year. But if there are issues with the sourcing, then they have to make decisions about and keep their operations cost effective. They have to downsize their employees and whatnot. Lab-grown diamonds are a completely different scenario. They literally are printing the material, and since the majority of in the melee sizes, the majority of the cost of that is captured in labor. So maybe we see some kind of an advantage there, moving forward. We'll see. More than, at least once a month, I meet a company who was traditionally manufacturing, who shifted completely from natural to lab grown because they see that as a, very efficient, very easy way to sustain a business. I'm going to try to approach here some of the questions on the chat. I see Joy Harvey commenting about Diamond Foundry. Yes, Diamond Foundry uses sustainable energy. Very important thing that's happening right now with Diamond Foundry. They called themselves early on carbon neutral, but that wasn't the case because they had solar panels that was only sufficient to sustain their office operations, but the pull of the energy for the machines to grow diamonds was connected to the grid. In the last 2 years, I believe they acquired a hydroelectric near Seattle, up in the Northwest, which when they turn it over to fully functional. I'm really not aware about what's going on with that, especially after COVID. That really would really award them the claim of carbon neutrality, because if you're using a hydroelectric to supply the energy for the growers, that's fantastic. So again, it's an issue about claims and how often can they sustain. Now, there's also a phenomenon. Well, let me address here Jessica. Jessica says larger stones are perceivably rarer. Yes. In the question from Jessica is, can they pursue the bigger stones and in the process, find the smaller stones to support the artisanal miners until they find the big ones? Yes. However, it's trickier than that. And I've learned this directly from people that have the data, right? Because you can talk to a miner, and a miner it's a practical, knowledgeable person on the issue. But overall data, for example, from Ms. Huizenga from the Diamond Development Initiative, in person communicated with me that it's tricky because depending on, let's say, on an area, you have sites that are doing artisanal mining. Each site will yield different a diversity of material. It could be small, it could be facettable, or it could be non-facettable, or it could be large but less, or it could be small and many carats at a time. So it's tricky, and the issue that it's difficult financially for the small artisanal mining operations is that they cannot afford to work for the material and wait until it's sourced and put it to market to operate. Through DDI, for example, they need to be sponsored first. They need to be payment upfront in a way, and so that they guarantees that the material comes to market. So it's a little bit of a chicken or egg situation a little bit. To bring back, to circle back about the incidents and of what melee can bring, I believe that melee could stay. It will be interesting that we could perhaps little by little shift the mentality that lab-grown diamonds are okay for the industry, because maybe we'll continue to sustain the labor markets that are much needed, right, on the smaller sizes. And then we continue to hunt for the larger diamonds via artisanal mining. And industrial mining does not to be the size, the gargantuous size that it is right now. On another hand, we remember De Beers themselves commenting in various public environments like trade shows and conferences that based on their projections, and they know data, they understand the data, based on the projections, there'll be a point in time where the diamond consuming market will create such a demand that the supply is not going to be able to meet it, right? And this was about 5 or 6 years ago. And we've seen De Beers becoming a participant in the diamond growing or the lab grown diamonds marketing, at least, and sales. I don't know if they're involved in the growing, but certainly in the marketing and sales, because they know and they anticipate that it's not going to be enough, right? So it's yet to be seen, yet to be determined what will happen with industrial mining operations. That's what's intriguing. Let's see if we have other questions here. Susan says that when she toured Diamond Foundry years ago, it was pointed out her that they were using hydrogen gas in their growing. I am not familiar about hydrogen gas impact on environment. It's very good questions. I would assume that it would be less if there's an impact on carbon emissions, just because we're isolating out the idea of carbon usage here. If it's hydrogen gas, I'm sure there's some component that derives from burning hydrogen, or maybe there's a process that we don't understand. So again, not an expert in the area, but it will be interesting if they can combine that with other, more of a, sources of energy that are carbon, that do less carbon emissions. There's a question here from Olusola and Neil. It's, do the carbon lab-grown diamonds last as long as natural diamonds? It's being touted, and it's, I've seen them in my hands as being the same material structurally. They are a larger percentage carbon structure, equally the same. So they have the same characteristics for hardness, for specific gravity, for refractive index, etc., etc. So they are in that claim can be verified gemologically, and it's being done already. They are the same material, so they can last as long. Yes. Brian asks, if lab diamonds supplied are not accepted for melee, could the natural small goods serve industrial uses economically? Absolutely so. By the way, side piece of information, within our trade, we understand and know about Diamond Foundry because they came in with faceted diamonds for jewelry. But I believe more than 60 or 70% of the revenue is derived from industrial purposes for the material itself, and it go from electronics to optics industries, and many other applications in which the diamond material in its other, I believe it's called compositive attributes, like heat conductivity, electrical conductivity, make it a more an ideal material for industrial use. So if we sort of use the same sense and see what else can we do with lab grown diamonds, so that there are purposes for that industrially. It's also an issue of I've seen the diamond material that is not facettable for jewelry or doesn't have a purpose. It gets ground down to dust, and it's used in drill bits and in just nearly any industry in which perforation it's required, right? The diamond helps applications for building and for industrial infrastructure. So what I wanted to welcome here was sort of the thought process that even though the industry from within has a hesitation about accepting lab-grown diamonds in our market, I believe there are also opportunities in which we can see that as a possibility to help the human component across continents, across labor markets, and across perhaps even industries. It could give us an interesting paradigm. There has been synthetics and or simulants to diamonds previously, and they have not succeeded because in themselves the material structurally was not the same. It was really not a recreation of a diamond. This is a different story. And like I said, if we're trying to address issues of lack of supply based on demand and future demand next 10 to 20 years, well, there's your answer. Are we going to try to make it in a different way so that there isn't the same or an assimilated imbalance of equity from beginning to end? Perhaps this is the opportunity. Yeah, Joy Harvey discusses about the viability or the claim of certain areas, certain deposits being safe on the artisanal diamond mining. Yeah, again, there's a lot of initiatives that I will not go into detail here, but they are being sponsored by small and larger enterprise, including De Beers, including larger operations that could provide an interesting new sector that has that same that has good impact. And when they say safe, really what they're trying to say is like, look, the country is not going through civil unrest. There isn't there isn't a concern around the proceeds of diamond mining and the diamond commercial infrastructure in the country that indicates that we're creating, or we're fueling violence, or we're bringing down governments, or we're creating hardship for communities, right? That's what it means as safe. But again, some of these things could pan out well for 5 years, 6 years, and then the larger investors walk away, and then they don't realize that by doing so, they create that instability socially, and that derives, as we know, violence and insecurities for communities. So again, my idea is for us to open up our minds for the long term, for the longevity of the materials. In this case specifically, when we look at lab-grown diamonds, we can see, maybe there's opportunities to understand. Botswana has some artisanal mining. Yes, that's true. Am I answering your question correct, Joy? Right. Yeah, there's artisanal mining in Botswana. The DRC, Congo, have artisanal mining as well. The large industrial mining operations nearby had been mostly in South Africa. Currently, Botswana, I believe, 4 or 5 of the initiatives that are there for small scale are working on expired large mining areas in the area. Yeah, De Beers, it's not necessarily behind it with people on the ground, but they're financing a lot of these initiatives. So they're helping finance. They're not the only financiers. All right. I believe we're coming close to 40 minutes here. I'm over my time. I invite everyone to, if you want to continue the conversation and just have an open, Q&A with me on my table, I would love to do that at any time today or tomorrow. We're still here tomorrow. Please do stop by our other vendors and inquire about how they see, some of these issues that, we talked about here today in their surroundings. So thank you very much. I hope I enlighten you with some topics of conversation moving forward, and looking forward to see you at our tables. Thank you.